It's the voice of Indiana County, WCCS 101.1 FM, AM 1160, WCCSradio.com. And Indiana County District Attorney Bob Manzi is with us. And DA Manzi, brought to you by Marcus & Mack, voted Best Personal Injury Law Firm in the Best of Indiana County contest. Marcus & Mack, a law firm representing injured people. Good morning.
Good morning, Todd. How are you today?
Wonderful. Good to have you with us here today. These things seem to run in cycles where you have great periods of activity with crimes reported and investigations underway, and then maybe quieter times when you're able to actually prepare for the trials. But this counterfeiting thing over the weekend interests me a lot. The whole process of discovering that we have counterfeit bills circulating, tracking down where all they have been distributed, and then finding the people who are responsible for that. That process has to be pretty involved, I would guess, and your office is right there in the middle of it.
It's a very involved process most of the time. Sometimes it's caught very quickly at the point of sale, but it really depends on a case by case. We have counterfeit bills that go through our county. I'd say at least once a year we're dealing with a slew of these bills coming in. What we find is those defendants tend to go to a lot of different places. Mm-hmm. We had one last year where I believe the defendant was caught passing counterfeit $100 bills, and we had them in 4 or 5 different counties. So, what they do is they'll get the bills and they'll just travel around to anywhere they can use the bills. They'll purchase a small item and then try to use a $100 bill to get all the change back.
Yeah.
Fortunately, what happens is we have cashiers that are paying attention, following the protocol of their businesses, and either not accepting $100 bills. I know a lot of businesses simply don't, or they're checking to make sure that they're real. Then we'll utilize video surveillance and other electronic techniques to find the individuals.
Mm-hmm. Which was what happened in this case, and relatively quick to get them all corralled up, even though one is there one still on the loose? Did we get everybody?
I believe we're still looking in to see if there's another individual,
but
I know we have at least 2 at this time.
And they fit that profile that you said. They're not from around here. They come into an area, they do what they can, and then they hope to exit and move on to their next intended victims in some other place. And we're hearing that they may have actually struck in Jefferson County as well. So that whole process of investigating, I assume, also involves looking back as well as looking forward. Okay, where might this have happened recently elsewhere?
Oh yeah, we'll track them through the main road arteries. So if you have somebody that will come from Philadelphia or comes from Pittsburgh or comes from Baltimore or Cleveland, you kind of check along the main roadways there to see any other businesses that might have been hit.
Yeah. All right, so that is one thing that is happening, and of course there are other crimes and other incidents that are happening elsewhere. And we've got a big event that is coming up soon here in Indiana. A lot of social media folks will be descending on town, as happens every March again. And the IACT group is already in action, meeting and making their preparations. I don't know, do you actually have to do things ahead of time as well to sort of get yourself set up?
We'll do a lot of preparation with our law enforcement partners and other community partners. What we want to do is address any potential issues beforehand and have a plan in place. What are we going to do if A happens? What are we going to do if B happens? We certainly don't want to be sitting at our desk on a Thursday or Friday night, something happens, and then we have to make a decision on how to address it at that point. Mm-hmm. So we try to plan as best we can for all of the conceivable events that we believe could happen, so that if and when it does happen, we can jump right into the plan.
The other day, Marshall Criswell and Maria Jack were here, and they were talking about scams. In his case, real estate scams or estate planning scams. And Maria mentioned that in her office at the county courthouse, so they have a special scam area set up. She said, you have one too. And I said, only one office? Because it seems like there are so many of them that you probably have to keep moving desks out of the way to expand that area.
Yeah, there's so many scams. Again, these thieves, their full-time job is to try to figure out how to steal our money. That's what they do. And as I said it before, I hate to give them credit, but they're good at what they do, and that's trying to steal money. We just had a case down in Homer City where a woman tried to find a phone number for Comcast, went online, and there was actually a fake website that gave a fake number. She thought she was talking to Comcast, and they ended up moving money from her mother's account into her account, and then they pretended it was an overpayment and sent a courier to come get the $29,000 of overpayment. Fortunately, she called the state police, and the state police were able to arrest the defendant, who had come to New Jersey to pick up the money. So, these scams are happening every day, and it's good people that are being targeted, not just seniors, not just a certain population. Everyone's being targeted. Everybody has to be vigilant.
In that case, it's one of those things where you say, why would they ask for that large an amount of money? Because that would simply call attention to the fact that it's probably not legitimate. But there are plenty of people that will ask for a smaller amount and just ask for it from a number of different sources, and they'll build up their monies that way. And that makes it even harder, doesn't it?
Even harder. And one of the scams that we're seeing, they'll get our credit card information, start billing our credit cards a small amount of money, $19.95, $24.95. They'll put it as just a bland subscription. And many times, if you're not going through your credit card bill each month and making sure everything's legit, every month you're given some scamster $20, $25. We've had individuals where when we talk about that, they go back over their credit card bill, and they find they've had $400 or $500. We've had over $1,000 taken from them. Fortunately, with a credit card, you're able to go back and hopefully the credit card will give you your money back. But if you're not diligent about your credit cards, that could be happening right now to you.
You have actually been going to some of the senior centers and visiting groups and talking about that with folks, giving us hints and ideas about how we can protect ourselves.
Yeah, the Elder Abuse Task Force, we go to senior centers at least once a month. In fact, tonight we're going to be in Salzburg at their senior center. We were at Mahoning Hills the other week, and we want to bring that message to the members of the community. We have our senior summit occurring on May 29th at the YMCA. We hope to have over 100 to 150 individuals coming there that day. But there's a lot of times where members of our community simply can't make that day or make that event. Mm-hmm. So myself and other members of the Elder Abuse Task Force, the Indiana Borough Police, the Pennsylvania State Police, Jim Struzzi's office, Joe Pittman's office, community banks, we go and bring that message to the members in the community to try to protect them and prevent them from being victims of scams.
Indiana County District Attorney Bob Manzi is with us this morning here on Indiana in the Morning as we roll toward 8 o'clock on this Wednesday. An update, if you would, from the Chevy Chase Community Center shooting?
We do have an update, at least coming from my office. So I currently serve as a member of the board of directors for the Chevy Chase Center. I have for a number of years. We were given notification that there may be a lawsuit coming from this, from the decedent's family. What that has done is it has created a conflict of interest for me, being a member of the board, being a potential defendant in that lawsuit. I then can also be the prosecuting attorney. Mm-hmm. So I've reached out to the Attorney General's office. I've spoken with their chief of criminal prosecutions, relayed the information, and as of about 25 days ago, the Attorney General's office is going to be taking lead on that investigation. It's still being investigated by the Pennsylvania State Police. They still have a lot of assets going through a lot of information there, and it'll continue to be prosecuted, investigated, and hopefully prosecuted down the road. But because of that conflict, the law requires that my office step out.
With as large an investigation as that is, remember you were telling us about, just breaking down a cell phone and getting into it when you have so many different cell phones that were there last night that you have in your hands now, and finding passwords and getting into them and seeing what material is on there. That's an awful lot of resources that you have to tie up in that way. Would the involvement of the State Attorney General's office and their obviously larger staff, would that be an advantage?
I don't know if it's an advantage or not. It's certainly not going to hurt. If they're able to provide more people working on the case because they are a larger office, that would be great. I don't know exactly, once I step away from a case, if there's any conflict, I step away wholly.
You're completely away.
Yeah, I mean, and that's important. I mean, that's what the law requires. There's really no decision here. The law requires that my office steps away. So, what more they can put into it, I'm sure they're going to do a great job. That office does a lot for our community that people may not see. Anytime there's a conflict, we send cases there. We probably send anywhere from 10 to 20 cases there a year. It's important that if there's an actual conflict or a perceived conflict, just a conflict that maybe somebody could look at it and say, well, that might be a conflict. The law requires that people trust the process and trust the system. Mm-hmm. And we send the case there for them to prosecute. They do a great job. I've known the Attorney General, Michelle Henry, for probably 20 years. She's a fantastic prosecutor, and all of the attorneys there do a great job. But once we turn the case over to them, we have to draw that line and step away.
Yeah. All right. So you mentioned the event in Salzburg tonight, right?
We do have the event tonight in Salzburg. It's going to be at 5 o'clock at their senior center. And then we have the very large senior summit event happening on May 29th at the YMCA.
Yeah. All right. Anybody who wants information on those, I'm sure they can get in touch with Aging Services and they can help them out. But if anybody has anything they want to share with your office about things that they notice in their neighborhood, they think you might be interested in investigating, I'm sure that you'd welcome a call from them.
We love getting information from the community. There's so many of our investigations that start that way. Please contact our office with any information. We're able to keep people anonymous, and we're able to tackle a lot of serious issues that way.
He's the Indiana County District Attorney, Bob Manzi. Thanks for the visit. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
It is the voice of Indiana County, WCCS 101.1 FM, AM 1160, and WCCSradio.com. You probably would rather have been talking with Bob Walk, right?
We could be talking baseball all day.
We'll be talking with Bob Walk in just a couple of moments. We'll be hooking up with him from Bradenton, Florida in our next segment. It is Indiana in the Morning on the voice of Indiana County, WCCS 101.1 FM, AM 1160, and WCCSradio.com. Just about a minute away from 9 o'clock. Fox News at the top of the hour, a couple of seconds away. And then Josh from our WCCS newsroom.
Could you be the person who gives a kid their forever family? Across Pennsylvania, kids in foster care are waiting for a family of their own.
My name's Keyshawn. I'm 17, and I want a family that will love me for me. I'm tired of moving, and I'm ready to accept someone in my life to have them as my forever family.
Meet the kids and learn how you can become a foster or adoptive parent. To learn more, visit adoptpakids.org. Paid for with Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars.
It's the breakfast menu everybody is talking about. Josephine's Funky Brunch at Josephine's Pizzeria. Serving Tuesday through Saturday from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. Everything from traditional breakfast to steak and eggs. You won't believe the choices. Get your breakfast funk on at Josephine's Funky Brunch, downtown Indiana.
101.1 FM and AM 1160 WCCS, Homer City, Salzburg. WCCS.